I'm Michelle Malkin for HotAir.com, and joining us today is Governor Mitt Romney. Governor Romney, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Michelle. Good to be with you.
Now, immigration and border security have burst into the forefront of the GOP presidential race. There's a front page article, page 2 article in the Washington Post about you and Rudy Giuliani. Now, you threw down the gauntlet and called him out on something that we've focused a lot on, and that is Rudy Giuliani's sanctuary record in New York City. He has responded to you, and I'm wondering what your response is to his criticism that you didn't do enough about sanctuary cities in Massachusetts.
Well, I'm the governor. I'm not the mayor. And so as a governor, I took responsibility to make sure that we in no way as a state opened our doors or made it a magnet for illegals to come into our state. So, for instance, I vetoed a bill that was designed to give illegal aliens a tuition break at our institutions of higher learning. I said no to driver's license to illegal aliens. I fought for a campaign that was successful in making sure we had English immersion in our schools. And of course, when ICE offered the program, I deputized our state police to enforce federal immigration laws. Now, by contrast, Mayor Giuliani continued a sanctuary city policy and actually said that he welcomed illegal aliens to their state or to his city, which, in my opinion, that sanctuary status is not the right way to go.
Right. Now, he has issued blanket denials that he supported the sanctuary policy there, even though, as you mentioned, he had actually brought a lawsuit. I mean, there's a difference between passively supporting these things and actively fighting the federal government to keep government employees from asking about citizenship status. It seems like he's put himself into quite an interesting little box there.
Well, you know, I think his position, to be diplomatic, is one which can be defended by those who take that position. All right, so I disagree with his position when he was mayor. I think it was wrong to continue to insist that city employees not provide information to federal officers so that our immigration laws can be enforced. And I think that the statement which is made, which is obviously picked up around the world, particularly in communities of people who are thinking of coming here illegally, saying, hey, if you come to New York and you're an illegal alien, we're just who you want. Come here and we will protect you. That is not the right message. That draws people into our country. It's one reason why instead of 2 to 3 million illegal aliens, we have 12 million to maybe 20 million illegal aliens. So that policy was wrong. And I proposed something which is a new idea, and that is, given the continued growth in the number of these sanctuary cities, I propose that the President of the United States implement a policy that says we're gonna hold back on some federal funding to some of these cities, so that we're going to encourage them through that process to abandon this lawlessness. And I don't know whether Mayor Giuliani is willing to support that idea or not.
Right. Now, Tom Tancredo, who's also a GOP presidential candidate and current House member, had proposed an amendment that passed to defund sanctuary cities. I take it, since that's along the same lines of what you proposed at the White House level, that's something you support. Why don't you think that the Bush White House has done this already?
Well, you know, I can't get inside the minds of the people in the White House and get their perspectives, but obviously they pursued a very different approach with the Senate bill, which, as you know, would have effectively granted amnesty to the 12 million people who are here illegally. I think that's the wrong approach. It's something which I respect as someone else's different viewpoint. I just think it's the wrong way to go. It would only, in my view, mean that more people would come here illegally, and I think it unfairly places those that are here illegally ahead of those who want to come here illegally, who've been waiting in line, who want to be reunited with family members, who want to get jobs here based upon their skills and experience. Look, I think it's very important for Republicans to communicate to the world that we value and welcome legal immigration. And we'll set our numbers of entrants and our visas based upon our needs as an economy. But we do want to end and control illegal immigration, and sanctuary cities are sending the wrong message and are flaunting the policies of our nation.
One of the ideas that the Bush Treasury Department embraced was the use of matricula consular cards. These are ID cards that are issued by the Mexican government that illegal aliens here use in order to entrench themselves into the American mainstream. Would you repeal that policy?
You know, I'm not sufficiently familiar with the policy to comment on that one, but I can tell you what I propose. And I'm willing, of course, to listen to other people's views on different ways of making this work. But it strikes me that people who come into this country legally should be given a biometric card, an identification card with a digital photo or thumbprint and so forth, and a number on it, and it indicates their work status. And a person who wants to get a job who's an alien would show this card to their employer or potential employer. He or she would input the data in a federal database. It would tell them immediately if it's a valid card and valid person, and you can hire them if they have the card and it's valid. And if you hire them even though they don't have the card, you're subject to the same kind of fines and penalties you get for not paying your taxes. In other words, they're pretty stiff fines and penalties. That, in my view, will shut down the extraordinary magnet which is caused by employers who knowingly or unknowingly hire people who are illegal. We have to have a system like that kind of an identification system, in order for employers to be held responsible for hiring illegals.
The employer sanctions record of the Bush administration has been lousy since through 2 terms. How was the employer sanction record in Massachusetts while you were governor? Do you know?
You know, I don't know what the federal government was able to do with regards to employer sanctions as they enforced the law in Massachusetts. Obviously, that's a federal matter which they pursue. But I can tell you this, that employers today probably fall in a number of different buckets, but certainly there may be some out there that are openly and aggressively trying to hire people who are here illegally. I presume there are some of those. I don't know any of those personally, but there may be some. But there are also a lot of employers that unknowingly hire people who are here illegally, and that's because our current law, as you know, says that an employer may not discriminate against the documents that someone shows them as to their legal status. And so an employer, when presented documents, even if he or she thinks they are fraudulent, is not allowed to discriminate against those documents, and therefore has to hire this person if on other bases they're qualified. And so you put the employer in a very difficult position now. They really don't know who's here legally and who's here illegally. And that's why I think you need to have this employment verification system in place, and then you can hold employers to very high standards and sanction them if they violate the law.
You mentioned the Senate amnesty bill. Now, last year's version you didn't speak up against, but you opposed this year's version. What changed?
Well, there were several versions last year, and I said that in my view they were reasonable, but I did not endorse any of them. And of course, I was a governor at the time. I wasn't involved in crafting legislation at the federal level, but I said all of them were reasonable, but I didn't endorse them. And then when this bill came out, of course, now I'm running for president. Took a very close look at it. This had some positive features, such as the employment verification system, but it had at least one very major problem, which in some respects made it worse than even some of those that came out last year. And that was every single illegal alien, other than those that had committed crimes, was invited to stay in the country for the rest of their life. They got these Z visas, which were renewable indefinitely, and it basically said anyone can stay in this country forever. And that simply is a form of amnesty, which is, in my view, going to be counterproductive. It's going to draw more people here illegally, and it's unfair to those that have waited in line to get here legally. And I'm not suggesting, Michelle, that we go all over the country, find all 12 million or 20 million that are here illegally, and deport them. But what I am suggesting is that we humanely and gradually replace those that are here illegally in the workforce with those that come here legally and with our own citizens.
Well, every amnesty is a permanent amnesty. That has been one of the key lessons of the last 30 or 40 years. One of the aspects of the recent version of amnesty included something that a lot of immigration enforcement and reformists have been talking about for a long time, which is ending chain migration. Do you agree with that?